you very much. Good day, Nigeria. My name is Mark Otabo, and you are most welcome to the Big. Thank you very much. Today, we place two powerful ideologies on the debate table. On one side, Ramadan, a brilliant final year student of Lagos State University, a multiple award-winning public speaker, a young man who believes deeply in the power of degrees, theory, research, and academic grounding. On the opposite side, Zanab, a former Apex Lagos State Youth Ambassador, a change maker, a finance journalist, a proud product of skill mastery, and a firm believer that the future belongs to those who can do, not those who can merely explain. But let's step outside your door in Nigeria and observe the reality. A tailor in a roadside kiosk may earn more than a fashion designer with a certificate she cannot use. A roadside mechanic, grease on his hands, no formal schooling, fixes cars faster and earns more than a university-trained automobile engineer who has never opened the bonnet of a keke, talk less of a Toyota Camry. Graduates are becoming keke drivers. Others are returning to learn the very skills they once looked down on. But before you conclude, look again. Without university-trained doctors, surgeons, nurses, and pharmacists, our hospitals would collapse. Without engineers, we will not have the Third Mainland Bridge or Eco-Atlantic rising from the ocean. So the big question right now is, should society place more value on skill acquisition than university education? Is the future in the workshop or in the classroom? Is a certificate still a ticket or just a paper? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Big. Welcome back. Now joining us today are two incredible young voices, each armed with fire and conviction. First, Oladipupo Ramadan, a final year student of Lagos State University and multiple award-winning public speaker. He believes university education remains paramount. Let's welcome Ramadan to the Big Issue stage. How you doing? Good to have you. Thank you very much. On the other side, I have Zanab Adirumu, former Apex Lagos State Youth Ambassador, passionate public speaker, change maker, and broadcast journalist. She argues that skill acquisition is the true currency of the future. Please make welcome Zanab right here. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now we are about to kickstart this conversation. But of course, when we return, it will be live right here on the Big. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Big. Well, right now, let's dive straight into the conversation. Ramadan, very quickly, let's have your first thought. You are very, very big on university education, and your advocacy around it is very crucial to this conversation right here. So how do you start?
So this is how I see it, right? When you're hungry, what you do is you eat. And this is because food has been proven to fix hunger. So anybody who chooses not to value food has chosen hunger. I see it in the same vein, right? The World Bank in 2022 published a journal that reported that countries with better tertiary education systems see a proportional increase in their economic growth. So the evidence is there, right? That good tertiary education is instrumental to good economic growth. So any country that chooses not to value good tertiary education has also chosen stagnancy. Because when we look at it, right, a lot of the modern professionals upon which the nation rests, upon which our economic growth rests upon, have all gone through some sort of an academic pipeline. Healthcare is the most important part of any nation. Why? Because a sick nation cannot grow economically. And it's not possible.
Keep going.
Healthcare is an important part of any nation,
right?
Because a sick nation cannot grow economically. In the same vein, you need teachers in an economy, because when we go to school, the education sector in itself contributes to our GDP. If there are no teachers in class, then the GDP drops and teachers are trained in a school. So when we look at it, the engineers, the doctors, the lawyers, they're all trained through some sort of flow through the academic pipeline. So when we remove that, it means we remove the life brain behind the driving factors for economic growth. And that is why I say skills are absolutely important. That is undisputable. However, the moment we stop valuing education because of the importance of skills, we've chosen stagnancy and a decline in our economy.
That clap is not good enough. Come on. Thank you very much. All right, Zanab, you heard what he said. He said, if we decide to discard the university education in some kind of way, we are actually trying to invite stagnancy in the system. You are for skill acquisition. How do you begin this conversation?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book has the power to change the world. Those are the words of the Nobel laureate and education activist Malala Yousafzai. You see, education has been acknowledged to be the most powerful tool to change and shape the mindsets of future generations and even the outputs. But we ask the question, what kind of education? Is it an education that produces parrots, or an education that produces critical thinkers? That's the question that we should ask today. And you see, the Nigerian education, the modern Nigerian education system, the way that we know it today, can be described as a relic of the colonial era. It was created not to empower the Nigerian mind, but to purport colonial values. They needed Nigerian men who could be teachers, low-level clerks, and even interpreters to carry forward the colonial values and to teach colonial education. It wasn't about Nigeria, it was about the colonial era. But guess what? Not much has changed. Let's play a game. Put your hand up. I need everybody to put their hands up. Put a finger down if you study in a public university in Nigeria. Put a finger down if the course you're currently studying is not the course that you wanted. Put a finger down if you have failed a course because you did not put it exactly the way your lecturer taught you in class. Put a finger down if you have read only to pass exams. Now put a finger down if you've forgotten most of what you're taught in exams. This is proof that the education system that we have in Nigeria today has been designed to produce parrots. It has been designed to create people who are smart enough to regurgitate and to tell back what they are told and to follow others, not necessarily people who are critical thinkers. So that's what I have to say on that.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Ramadan, how do you respond to that? She was very explicit. She went all the way. She had to even do a challenge with the audience to just drive home her point. Where do you stand in this quickly?
All right, so the honest truth is the educational system in Nigeria is not a fairy tale story. It's not the best it can be. However, the premise of this discussion is for us to establish the importance of education, right? And that has already been established. Now, conceding to the anomalies in the educational system and understanding the importance in the educational system brings us to a point where we want to improve the educational system. And today's topic asks us whether we should value the educational system. And I say you only improve what you value. So improving the educational system sets us up to enjoy the benefits of a good educational system. And the only way we do that is to improve it in the first place, because this is how I see it. You don't cut off your neck because you have a headache. What do? You take treatments for it, right? So having understood the importance of the educational system, we don't stop valuing it because the educational system has a headache in its anomalies and irregularities. What we do is we choose to improve the educational system because we value it.
Come on. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, Zanab, before you respond, let me just establish it right here. The topic is straight up. Whether it is in Nigeria, in China, we do not care. University education, over skill acquisition, anywhere in the world, so that your conversation is not restricted to the Nigerian environment. That's what we're looking at, all right? So I want to free you from that shackle, because I see you're struggling, to bring out your points, because you're trying to base everything you're saying around Nigeria. No, we're looking at university education all the way, skill acquisition all the way, so we can have a good time. You right? Fantastic. Now, Zanab, how do you respond to him quickly?
Okay. So the kind of university education, as it is done in most parts of the world today, is the kind that disembodies you from the neck down. And it asks you to focus on only one side of your brain. You're literally being asked to develop and to utilize only one side of your brain. But global models have showed us that countries who prioritize innovation and skills development, not necessarily over education, but pari passu university education, are the fastest growing economies in the world today. The Global Innovation Index by the World Intellectual Property Organization, the 2025 Global Innovation Index, shows us that countries who are the fastest growing economies are countries that prioritize innovation for growth. And interestingly, these countries, including Sweden, Switzerland, and Singapore, are countries that are skills-based education, pari passu university education.
Thank you very much. Ramadan, let me further buttress what she's trying to say here. Now, the job market, when you look at it very much, cares about competence. Most of the time, there are certain environments you come with your degrees, and the manager is telling you, please put that degree aside, let's see what you can do. All right? Especially in areas where skill is required. Now, how do you hold down that conversation in that kind of environment where the manager is not even interested if you're bringing any degree from Harvard, because they want to see the skill, competence that you have? So
this is it, right? A degree is not magic. If someone spends 4 years in school without developing their competence, they might have wasted 4 years.
Okay.
Because the job market, in its growth, and the way the job market is growing, it no longer values a parrot, per se, right? It values someone who can contribute to the growth of the community and the growth of the industry that they're applying to work in. However, I begs this question. Why do we think the biggest companies all have graduate trainee programs? Is it because they understand the fact that the foundational premise of the university system puts us in a place where we can conform to structures and systems that are necessary for scalability. It is almost impossible to scale if you have people who don't follow structure, if you have people who don't follow systems. It is very difficult to scale if you have people who do not have discipline. What the school system trains you to do is it teaches you discipline. You have an 8 a.m. class, it doesn't matter when you sleep. If you have a test and you value your education, you will wake up and get to class. That is discipline. It teaches you structure. You have to submit this assignment by 2 p.m. You structure your day in a way that allows you to submit the assignment by 2 p.m. When you look at it, it's like looking at a mirror, right? Because on this side, I have an assignment by 2 p.m. and I have to submit it. Now, when you get into the job market, you have a task and the deadline is 2 p.m. You have to submit it. Now, because you have been trained on the foundational premise of the educational system, you are ready to fit into the job market. Now, that is not to say the educational system is all you need. However, it builds that foundation upon which the skyscraper can be built. And this is it, in a house. The foundation is what you value the most, because it doesn't matter the beautiful structure you set on top of it. The foundation is loose, it's collapsed, right? So when we build the right foundational premise by valuing our educational system, only then will we actually enjoy to the maximum the benefits of the skills that these people bring into.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, Zanab, I know you're already warming into it right now. He's telling us that no matter how you see it, skill is good. He has not actually, he's not played it down in any way, but he's saying, look, a university education gives you structure. It teaches you discipline compared to skill acquisition that you're actually advocating for right now. So tell us, how do you contend with that particular reality revolving around the university life?
Now, it's quite interesting that the university is supposed to prepare us for employment. But interestingly, in Nigeria and in some countries, we see a very stark difference. More than half of graduates in Nigeria today are either unemployed or underemployed. And the skills sector, which is the informal sector, contributes about 53% to the GDP by the NBS. Therefore, Nigeria may not necessarily prioritize skills acquisition over university education. But if we must address the issues of unemployment, if we must address the issues of graduates being able to fit into employment structures, and importantly, if we must create a nation of innovators and inventors, we must re-strategize and pay more attention to skills acquisition.
All right, you have one more to say. Good.
Of course we need doctors. Of course we need lawyers. And definitely we need these people to get the university degrees, because how else would they be doctors and lawyers? But the truth, as we have seen in society today, is that not everybody can be lawyers and doctors. We need people who have to move to think. We need people who have special intelligence, who have kinesthetic intelligence, to also be prioritized in our economy today.
Thank you very much. That clap is not good for me at all. Come on, it's not good for me at all. Thank you. All right. Before we go on that break quickly, how do you respond in 20 seconds before we go on that break quickly?
So this is how I see it, right?
Right.
We live in a vacuum.
All right.
And in this vacuum, university education is present. Skill acquisition and education is present. So we cannot separate both in itself, right? Unless we can see how increasing one directly increases something else. Now, she said, skills contribute to 52% of the growth of the GDP.
Yeah.
And I say, the only reason why that happens is because we do have the educational foundation. Universities exist. And the university has trained people who then learn skills and improve the economy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. University has trained people who in then train people to acquire the skills and improve the economy. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, it's still right here live on The Big. Welcome back, Nigeria. This is The Big. Thank you very much. Now, this is the moment where the arguments get sharper. Ramadan Zanab says, skills over certificates. Has the market really made the classroom irrelevant? What do you really have to say about it? Now, Zanab, you are so big on skills, and you've told us readily how skill acquisition has contributed to the GDP of the economy. How do you continue to progress with this conversation, giving us a reality that we should lean on to skills and not necessarily university education?
So I'll give you an example.
All right.
There was once an 8-year-old girl named Jill. Now, Jill was failing woefully in school. Her numbers weren't adding up, and she was mixing up her letters. The school, being fed up, wrote to her parents and said, "Your daughter has a learning disorder." Jill's mother, in hopes that her daughter's disability or disorder would be cured, took her to a specialist. After explaining everything that went wrong to the doctor, he stood up, went over to where little Jill was seated. He crouched and he said to her, "I've heard everything your mom has to say, Jill. but I need to speak with her privately. Don't do anything rash. We'll be right back. He stood up and went back to his table, turned on the volume of the radio sitting on top of his table, and stepped out with Jill's mother. After a minute, little Jill stood up and began to sway to the rhythm of the music. The doctor turned to her mom and said, "Ma'am, your daughter's not sick. She's a dancer. Take her to dance school." In a typical Nigerian home, or a typical Asian home, for example, Jill's mother would have shamed or flogged the creativity out of her. There are some people who need to move to think. There are some people who need to do stuff with their hands to think. But somehow we have placed first-class graduates and university professors as the pinnacle of success. They're only a form of success, not what success embodies totally in society.
Thank you very much. Ramadan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard her. Quickly.
So it's not disputable
Right.
that certain people possess learning disabilities that do not allow them to thrive in the university environment. Put it this way, this room is extremely cold. We have 100 people in here.
Yeah.
The air condition is turned on
Yeah.
and it's very cold. Now, 90 of us are fine with it. But 10 of us
Indifferent.
10 of us feel it's too cold and they want us to turn
Switch it off.
the air conditioner. It's only logical that because 90 people are still comfortable with it, we cannot inconvenience 90 as a result of the 10. It's the exact same thing in today's day. According to the World Health Organization.
So are you saying we should create an environment where 90% of the people are fine and 10% are ignored?
I'm saying according to the World Health Organization, 10% of people are some sort of learning disability. Now, we cannot completely abandon a system that is still appropriate for the 90% because of the 10%.
So the 10%, what
So
happens
this
to
is
them?
The 10% have every other, they could learn a skill by all means. However, we cannot devalue a system that favors the 90% because we want to value a system that favors the 10%.
All right. Before you say anything, Zanab, Ramadan,
Yeah.
you're quite aware that when it comes to skill acquisition, it's cheaper. It's easy. You wake up, you go to where you want to learn that skill. Every day you master the craft, you become a pro in it. And in no time, after 4 years, the man who has learned that skills become an absolute financial power, earning that money and making that skill happen. Compared to the university graduate who finished after 4 years, goes to NYC and serve, no job. But the guy who has learned the skill, for example, the guy who learns how to barb, he doesn't even need 4 years to learn how to cut the person's hair. Before you know it, he opens a shop, he's already making money daily and he's piling up his finances and feels good. And if it comes to the university education, now you have it online. People go on YouTube now to learn courses. They don't need to go to a university to sit down to earn a degree. I can decide, okay, I want to study economics. I go online and study. There are professors who have put up, you know, a lot of posts out there for you. So tell me, how do you think in this current dispensation that we're in, you can still want to say, come on, university degree is still a priority when people can still do what they have to do and still earn that degree somehow by going online to learn it?
Beautiful. I would like to establish this premise, right? In math, there's something called it's a law. If A equals to B and B equals to C, then A equals C. Now, why am I saying this, right? I used to know a guy. He did not go to the university. He went to learn mechanic, as we would say, right? He worked every day, goes to the shop, he learns, he trains, and now he's doing really well for himself. He has his own auto shop where he repairs vehicles for people, right? However, the scalability of that auto shop is extremely skewed. Why? Because he's stuck repairing vehicles. However, the future of the automobile economy is not in repairing vehicles, it's in innovation in the automobile economy, right? It's in moving over to electric vehicles. It's in setting up frameworks that make fuel consumption more efficient. You cannot learn this skill in a mechanic workshop. These are skills that are built. These skills are built on a theoretical premise that you can, right? You can get this outside the university system, but only if you're an absolute outlier who goes all in and reads every textbook and every article and every white paper. However, the chances that you develop that theoretical knowledge is much higher in the university system as opposed to outside.
How do you respond to that, Zanab? The man has dropped his own analysis just the way you dropped yours, and so far it's been beautiful all the way. He's saying, look, acquiring the skills is not bad, but when the skills start getting innovation in between and development starts coming in, how do you contend? Because all you knew was learning the skill, but innovation is not there to push it forward.
So first of all, what is skills acquisition? It's developing the critical, the creative, the entrepreneurial, and of course, all-round holistic development of a person. I think that we make a mistake when we limit skills acquisition to the mechanic shop or the tailor's shop. Now, it would interest you to note that the World Intellectual Property Organization says that most of the top R&D investing companies spend at least 2 to 3% on R&D, that's research and development. So it's not about sitting down in a mechanic shop or sitting down in a tailor's shop and saying that you're doing skills acquisition. It's a holistic thing. That's what should happen. People, they're taught the theoretical and most importantly, the practical aspect of it.
Are you saying you're more likely to develop a theoretical stronghold outside the university system?
I'm saying that in addition to whatever theoretical things that we're being taught, right now, the only things that exist in many universities, particularly in Nigeria, is theoretical learning. Am I right?
So in addition,
but not necessarily the practical aspect of what it is that we're being taught.
Right.
We're being taught to parrot. We're being taught to regurgitate. We're being taught, I remember a lecturer saying, give me exactly what I gave you.
Do you think the theoretical premise is important?
It is important, but
Beautiful.
it is part of skills acquisition.
Beautiful.
It's not,
so admitting to the fact that
it's not
the
outside of skills acquisition.
Admitting to the fact that theoretical framework is important and adding skill acquisition on top makes it much more efficient. It means you've considered to the fact that the foundational premise for whatever it is that we experience in the future is the university education system.
You disagree?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a university education.
But you're more likely to develop it in the university.
No, not necessarily. Now, let me give you this. Let me tell you this.
So are you more likely to develop a theoretical stronghold in a system without structure and where you're not under compulsion to do anything, as opposed to where there is structure, where there are systems set up in place to explicitly give you that theoretical stronghold? Are you better in that system or outside the system?
So I'll give you an example from personal experience.
Okay.
Last year, I visited the library of Helsinki, the Finland library in Helsinki. And it was a library, very big. It had books on one side, but there was a practical aspect of it. There were machines, sewing machines, different other types of machines, and you got the chance to choose what aspect that you wanted. If you're a bookie like me, you go to the library, you read your books. But if you're somebody who needs to think with your hands or to move with your body before you think, you go to that aspect. Now, interestingly, the Finland education system is a two-pronged education system. You could either, once you've gone through primary level to secondary level, you then decide whether you want to pursue a university education or you want to pursue skills acquisition. And the good part is that none is subservient to the other. So I could have risen.
So the Finnish educational system.
Let me finish. So I could have risen to the pinnacle of society through skills acquisition, or Or I could have done it through education. But at the end of it, we're still on the same level.
I say you could not have done it through education. Why? If you decided to go practical, right? You go into the fashion industry. You go explore the machines, like you said. You say that's skill acquisition. I say those machines will not even exist if textile scientists did not go to school, study the theoretical frameworks behind creating those machines, they did not study fabric science, if they do not understand the mathematical proportions to the patterns that you use to sew your outfits. So it's undisputed, right? Skills are important. However, I am saying the foundational premise is still the university educational system. And that is why the moment we devalue it, we devalue the entire system as a whole.
So I see that you're still stuck in the rat race of thinking that skills or university education doesn't encompass some sort of skills acquisition. Now, when I defined skills acquisition, I said it was critical, creative, entrepreneurial. You necessarily have to develop critical thinking skills to be able to do whatever fabric science it is that you were talking about. But guess what? That is not the reality in a lot of universities. University graduates leave school and they can't even assimilate into the work structure. Why else would a university? Why else would a bank create a graduate traineeship program just to retrain university? They're supposed to be university graduates.
Why do you think they don't have an illiterate training program?
Because that's the bank. It doesn't. That's what I'm talking about.
That is because they understand the fact that the foundational principles you develop while becoming a graduate can be worked upon and utilized in the system.
Well, thank you.
Now we're back to that 10% that you refuse to account for in your previous. Yes.
I do not refuse to account for them.
90%,
I refuse
but then
to
we
ignore
leave 10%
the 90%.
to be illiterates. We ignore 10% because they have learning disabilities.
Do you say we focus on 10% and make 90% illiterate?
Gillian Barbara Lynn, whose story that I told earlier, is the founder of the Gillian Lynn dance company. She has won numerous awards for being a dancer, and she's a multimillionaire because a doctor understood that people can be differently intelligent. So we don't necessarily...
I absolutely agree with that.
So no, we don't have to focus on 10% to ignore 90%. And I do think 90 to 10 is not the numbers, but I don't have the numbers now, so I'm not going to say that. But we don't have to focus on 10 to ignore 90, but we must create a system where 10% can equally thrive.
Absolutely, right, absolutely. Absolutely. But if creating the system for the 10% means devaluing the system for the 90%, that is where I have a problem.
Okay.
Zanab said something right now. He said, look, for example, in the bank, there's graduate training program. Why is there a need to set up that when you actually went to the university to study whatever it is you studied?
Yeah.
So she's saying, you should come out of the university smoking enough to get yourself into the system straight up. Why then should we set up a graduate training program again for them to be able to accustom themselves to the work environment if they actually went to the university to learn and study?
Beautiful, right? The truth is the educational system, ideally, in a fairy tale world, you go to school, you come out of school, you know absolutely everything you need to dominate and change the world. But do we live in a fairy tale world? We don't, right? So the educational system is not perfect in itself. The university system is not perfect in itself. However, it does set you up to a point where you can now be trained, and those skills you developed in the university educational system can now be improved upon, and that is what gets you to the point where you can go out and change the world. You see, the presence of a graduate trainee program in itself acknowledges the importance of the university educational system, because this is it, right? If I have two pools to pick from, I can pick from pool A and pool B. and I want to grow, I would pick from the pool that allows me to grow the most, and I would train that pool. The reason why they picked the graduate pool is because they understand that they have the foundational premises necessary to then go on, add skill acquisition to their stack, and then go out and change the world.
But why wait 4 years to do that?
Because that is what it takes to build a foundational premise.
Does it have to take 4 years to build a foundational premise?
In your world,
let me tell you the
in your
story.
world, where do we build a foundational premise?
So let me tell you the story of, I can't remember his name right now.
Okay.
But he's a great trader.
Okay.
When he was definitely very poor, from very poor backgrounds in London,
okay,
went through school, but midway, he got the chance to intern at the Wall Street,
right,
and rose to the pinnacle. Midway, he wasn't done yet.
Right.
It meant that he didn't have to spend 4 years to be able to learn what he needed to learn.
Right.
So the skills acquisition really should come first. I think 4 years is a waste of my time. If I still need to go to the bank, and I mean, not everybody will be bankers,
I agree,
to learn the skills that I need to function in a bank. 4 years is too much.
Okay.
Now this is it, right?
Final thoughts, I guess?
Yeah, there's something called the concept of outliers.
Right.
I started reading when I was 18 months old. At 18 months, I could read a phonic word. That means if the word sounds the way it's spelt, like market, I could sound out the words and read it. Does that mean every 18-month-old can read? Or does that mean we prioritize a system where every 18-month-old is required to know how to read? You see, the story of your Wall Street genius is one of an outlier. And for every outlier story, I can tell you 10 average men who do not have the outlier advantage to go into Wall Street without a theoretical premise and absolutely dominate, or go into the industry, any industry as a whole, without a theoretical premise and absolutely dominate. Now, focusing on a system that will favor outliers as opposed to building the very many that are not outliers and are average is what I disagree with.
Now,
and
you know,
that is
I'm
why
not
I
particularly sure what your stance is anymore. First,
Okay.
you said 90%. 90% cannot be outliers. It means 10% are the ones with
10% are disabled, learning disabled.
Okay.
Learning disabled doesn't mean you are not average, right?
So Gillian Lynn she had a learning disability?
Yes, she had a learning disability, and that is by no means
Because she did not understand how to write words.
It is a medical condition called dyslexia, and it is a learning disability. It is by no means an insult. It is an adjective. It is an adjective.
But guess what? In the words of Sir Ken Robinson, is a great education expert. All kids are creative. So being 18 months is not, I was 18 months and I could do that. Being 18 months, being a child, means that you have talents, you have creativity, but we have a schooling system that schools out the creativity from children.
We have a schooling system that schools out the creativity in children. We go on a break now, and when we return, it will be time for the audience to prepare their questions and put it forward. This is the big... Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the big... Thank you. Fantastic. Well, so far so good. It's been quite interesting. The conversation has been very, very mind-boggling. And I can tell you for a fact that these individuals here have been able to open it up and giving us an insight into what skill acquisition really entails. And of course, Ramadan did not fail to tell us the foundations that university education provides. But right now, we're going to be listening to our audience because I know they are ready, you know, with their questions, and they'll be unpacking this moment with us. All right, who is going to be our first question caller today? All right, Chris, tell us your name and sit down. Just tell your name and who you're directing questions to.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Oluwatosin Akinwale. I am a 400 level student from the University of Lagos.
Right.
I am a fashion designer and I own a fashion line of a 5-year fashion line
All right.
for, making clothes and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so well done, guys. Intellectual takes there. But Ramadan, I have a question for you, right? So my course is for 4 years, and I'm going to be finishing next year, and I'm going to be using 6 years for a 4-year course in University of Lagos, right? So now, your take of the value of university education so far, what I've picked is, it is about the foundation. That is what you've been insinuating since you've been talking about your topic, right? So my question is, what do you mean it's teaching me discipline? I am over 20 years old. Is it now that I want to learn how to submit my work by 2 p.m.? I went to primary school. I went to secondary school. I learned all those things. So I know my left from my right now. I know how to take my life seriously. So there's so many of us that already know and have a path of what we want to do, right? And let me also give you another example. So during my school years, when I got admission into University of Lagos, then we had an issue of ASU strike. So that was when I then went to my fashion school, and I finished within 4 months. And now, I'm telling you for a fact, in a month, I make about 300K. But then that 300K, I take it back to school. Now they've increased our school fees. I take it back to school and spend that 300K in school on education. So with all of this, right? And then Zanab had made several points, right? The system generally needs skills. That's why you're still having graduates, trainees
So what's
in
the question?
companies. So now my question is, with all of this, the fact that the system cannot do away with skills, right? Why is university education still valued more than skills acquisition?
All right, thank you very much. Fantastic. Pass the mic. Quickly, answer it shortly.
I disagree when you say the university system cannot do without skills. The skill system cannot do without universities. This is it. I don't need someone who went to acquire skill, learn outside the university educational system to set up a university educational system. However, you do need someone who left the university educational system to set up skill acquisition. You learned fashion design because somebody who went to university education to study textile engineering built the machine. So like I said, education survives without skills. Skills does not survive without education.
Thank you very much. Yes, your question.
Hello everyone, I'm Maimuna, and I'm a 100 level student in the University of Lagos, so I'm just entering the system.
Okay.
So I have a question for Ramadan.
For Ramadan?
Yes, I have a question for Ramadan.
Okay.
So given the rising cost of education, university education, and increasing student debt, do you think it is a responsible choice, societal choice, to push students towards that path over cost-effective skill acquisition, which allows students to enter the workforce faster?
You heard that question, right?
Yes. So today's discussion is not about pushing students into the educational system. It's a simple question about whether or not we should value the educational system. So the moment we understand the premise that the educational system is important and it is an absolute necessary for any developing economy, we don't need to force students into it. I'm only saying we don't have to devalue it because skill acquisition is more cost effective.
Thank you very much. All right, your name and who your question is directed to, quickly.
Thank you. My name is Abdurrahman. I'm a civil servant. I work with Lagos State Tax Management Authority, LASMA. Okay. So I'm directing my question to Zanab.
Okay.
Zanab, are you saying that we can evict skill acquisition from education, or from because according to Bloom taxonomy, so there is one theory that is called CAP, cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So cognitive is actually talking about developing your mental faculty, your brain. Why affective is talking about developing your mind. Why psychomotor is talking about skill acquisition, that is using your name to create things. So meaning that skill acquisition is part of education. So my question is, can we evict skill acquisition from education? That's my question.
Thank you very much. Please hands together. Fantastic. You got the question right?
I'm not particularly sure I
He's
understand
saying,
what the question is.
can you separate skill acquisition from education? Because he's still buttressing Ramadan's point that education is still the foundation of someone who wants to go into skill acquisition.
So I think the difference here is university education over skills acquisition. But skills acquisition is still a form of education. And I don't think it's an absolute necessary, contrary to what Ramadan said, that we need to get to university education. But is skills acquisition important? Yes. Can you get some form of skills in the university? Yes. But do we necessarily have to force people to go only to the university? Certainly not.
Thank you very much. All right. The next question. Yes, pass the mic. You were late. Oh, yeah, pass the mic to... All right, pass it to her. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, guys. Kudos to you guys. My name is Marvelous Damala, a student of UNILAG 200 level mass communication. So my question is actually directed to I could not grasp your name. Okay, Zanab. My question goes, in a typical Nigerian setting, like for an example she gave, like a dancer that you gave, is nowhere compared to a doctor, be it in qualifications, respect, even in salary, actually. So let's take for in a typical Nigerian setting, can I tell my mom that, Mom, I don't want to go to school, I want to be a dancer? Can you just imagine the scenario? So I saying this, can you still advise me to acquire a skill? That's my question.
Okay, you heard the question, right?
Yeah, I heard the question. So I like your question because I have first-hand experience. So when I was going to get into the university, I told my father that I wanted to study theater arts. And he said, Ofe Majota, meaning you want to dance for a living? So no, you cannot tell your mom, because that is the kind of society that we find ourselves in. But guess what? Gillian Lynn rose to the pinnacle, and she's a multi-millionaire. What does a doctor want? Really, it's passion. What's your passion? If you want to be a doctor because you want to acquire the money, you definitely will be able to do that. But if you want to be a dancer because both paths lead to wherever it is that you want it to lead to. But no, you cannot tell your mommy, because that is the kind of society that we have.
Fine, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My name is Fatoki Adiola. I am a 200 level student of University of Lagos.
Right.
So Ramadan made a point that to learn a skill, you have to be educated. But I disagree with that, because like my fellow audience here said, the cost of education is rising. So some people find it hard to afford education, and they make it in skill acquisition.
Right.
So
the question is not you need university education to acquire skill. As a person, you don't. However, the skill acquisition system in itself needs university education to thrive. There's a Lego maxim that goes, Nemo dat quad non abet, meaning you cannot give what you do not have. The skill acquisition system is hinged on what is passed on to it from the university education system. The machines you use, the frameworks you explore are developed in a university classroom by studying theoretical frameworks. And you cannot give skill acquisition without valuing the university system.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, we're on to contributions now. Questions have taken a back seat for a while. Let's have your contributions quickly. Your name?
Right. Thank you so much. I'm Zanab. I'm
Right.
a recent graduate of the Lagos State University,
Right.
Computer Science Department.
Right.
And this is my contribution. So I'll put it this way. Why would someone come out and say she's a tailor, whilst another one will come out and say she's a fashion designer? Apparently, there is something one person has acquired over the other. The other lady who said she's a fashion designer, why did she not call herself a tailor? What am I trying to say? At the end of the day, what do we think about infusion? Because over all of the arguments, it seems to me like one cannot do without the other. Or maybe the better thing to say is the two together gives greater advantage. And I think even the educational system is thinking towards this direction, and that is why entrepreneurship is now taught in universities. So in universities, we now have entrepreneurship education. So I think infusing both, valuing both, would give higher productivity and would be favorable to most. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass the mic. Pass it down. Pass the mic down quickly. All right. Contributions. All right, let's have you quickly.
My name is Goodness, a recent graduate of National Open University.
Right.
And I'm also a salesperson.
Right.
And thank you for your points, both sides. But I'm not going to take a side. I feel both sides.
You can take a side, though.
They
no
have
problem.
they have their pros and cons.
I understand,
and
yeah.
It's been proven that none is better. We can't say university education is better than skill acquisition. Both sides should be better, and especially in the system we have in Nigeria, where if you don't have a skill, if you don't have a handwork, like they call it, you can't thrive, even if you have the highest education.
Yeah.
Now, from personal experience, I know a man is a security officer in my place of work, and they needed a supervisor, but because he couldn't read and write, they didn't give him that position, and they needed someone to supervise, someone to be the head of that particular group. But because he couldn't read and write, they didn't give him that position. And if we're not saying we should take out education entirely, how would that man, if he had gotten proper education, let me say, if he had gotten basic education, he would have gotten that position.
Yeah.
So we can't say one is above
They
the
can't
other.
do without each other.
Put the two together and
Right.
just
Thank you very much.
try to see how we can manage it.
Yeah, my name is Wale Fakui. It's been a brilliant conversation. I'm a coach and a public speaker.
Absolutely.
Now, I think it's foundational. From the word university, the etymology speaks of universal, very universitas, meaning wholeness. And I believe, I want to put an addendum to what Ramadan has said, because Zanab is only able to articulate all of this because he has passed through that pipeline called university. And I believe that it's also important for our national progress. The men that have gone through all of these institutions with impressive resume from Harvard to Yale, from UNILAG to UNAD, are the ones that will shape critical thinking. They are the ones that will shape global perspective. You know what is obtainable. You're able to articulate all of those stories, because we know that people follow different neural paths. We have people that have kinetic intelligence, people that are spatial, you understand, different. So these are some of the things we should encourage, and I think it's complementary. We cannot divorce one from the other.
Thank you very much. All right. Any more contributions? Okay, we have one behind. Quickly. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Champion Mike is my name. I want to compliment what they have said.
All right.
University education is very important. However, I feel that speaking for our country, Nigeria, we should focus more on skills acquisition.
Right.
The reason is because we have enough of theoretical, perspective. And if this country must move forward, we should look beyond theory and begin to do more practical work. All right, you remember the 4 Asian tigers. I mean, Zanab talked about Singapore. Let me add to that. Of course, we had South Korea added to that list. We have Hong Kong. We have Taiwan. Even Germany. These are countries that, of course, they were once called developing countries, but now they're developed countries. Why? Because of the focus on skills acquisition. Recall, of course, the Korean miracle. Talk about the Samsung. Talk about LG. Talk about Taiwan. Talk about Hyundai brands. These are brands that over time, because of the focus on skills, have moved beyond theory to become practical. So if we must go forward and move from becoming a developing country to a developed country, we need to shift our focus to encouraging skills to be taught, not only at the tertiary level, primary, secondary. It should be something that become a national movement, like we saw in South Korea and became a Korean miracle.
Thank you very much. Thanks for asking. All right. Do we have any more contributions quickly before we go? Final one, I guess. The final one. This is the final one.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Nancy Omoto, a 400 level student, Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos.
All right.
I must commend the speakers. They are well articulated. Well, my point is going to support, in quotes, Zanab. the education system, the educational system in Nigeria has been created to imitate our colonial masters. However, including innovation in how we grow, in how we are taught, will definitely help us to even stand in gap with our colonial masters, building the world and making it a better place. So I apparently support every Nigerian should be accurately or skill accumulated. Every Nigerian should have a very good skill that they can master that will bring out who they are, that will bring out the Nigerian in us.
Right.
So basically that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, it's been a mind-blowing experience listening to the questions and, of course, contributions from our audience right here. We'll go on another quick break, and when we return, our guest right here will be taking it home in 30 seconds. And right here live on The Big Issue, we do the best we can to ensure that you have a great time watching this amazing show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back right here on The Big Issue. Welcome back, Nigeria. This is still The Big Issue. Thank you very much. Yes, of course, we are gradually winding down now, and now we're going to listening to final words from our guests right here. In 30 seconds, Zanab, how do you wrap up? 30 seconds.
If Nigeria must be great again, the question of education is non-negotiable. However, the kind of education is what must be negotiated. We need a system that nurtures creators, not regurgitators. We need a system that prioritizes inventors and not parrots. We need a system that pushes students to be creative and not penalize them for it. Essentially, we need a system that educates you not only in one side of your brain, but from your head to your toes. Thank you.
Ramadan, how do you wrap up in 30 seconds?
At the end of our arguments, we can establish a common truth. Skills can be learned anywhere. In a shop, a backyard, market, YouTube. However, university education has only one home, the classroom. And since today's topic isn't asking us which you should do, it's asking what the system should value. We must value what is irreplaceable. You can learn to weld on the street, you cannot become a pharmacist that way. You can learn to sew from your aunt, you cannot become a doctor that way. You can learn to dance anywhere, you cannot become an engineer that way. So when it's a question of valuing one, once you remove the classroom, everything that stems from it falls. However, if we keep valuing the educational system, we still get to enjoy the opportunities from the skill acquisition system.
Thank you very much. Well, please put your hands together once again for these people. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, as with the fashion of the show, when we're done with conversations like this, because of course how heated it was, we expect that you guys don't walk out of here with bad blood. So can you just come together and just exchange those pleasantries?
Okay.
Yes. I know.
Well
Thank you very much. Now, there you have it. Two brilliant perspectives on a question that touches every Nigerian home. Should society place more value on skill acquisition than university education? Nigeria, you decide. Today, in our Big Issue audience are the students from the Faculty of Mass Communication, University of Lagos. Put your hands together for them. And also, we have students from the National Open University of Nigerians. Please put your hands together for them as well. Thank you so much. And of course, to the producer of The Big Issue, Francis Azubike, you have to put your hands together for that man as well. Thank you so much. All right. And of course, to the excellent production team behind the camera, well done, guys, as well. Thank you so much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, keep the conversation going on social media at The Big Issue on TVC. I am Marco Tabo. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay safe right on The Big Issue!